All right, chapter 15 is where we're at. We're the second to last chapter in our semester course here, and we've gone from perfect competition, we're going to the opposite end of the extreme, we're going to monopoly. So instead of having many firms competing, we're going to have a single firm. That single firm is going to be the entire market. So when you see the diagram for the firm, you're looking at the diagram for the market as well. Okay? So, monopolies. Examples aren't really a lot of pure monopolies, but you should think more locally, for example. For example, a liquor store that's the only one that has a liquor license in an area is in essence a monopoly. A hospital that's the only hospital in a 50-mile radius, for example, is in essence a monopoly in that area. Not that people can't go further away or whatever, but these firms have what we call local monopolistic kind of power. In other words, they're going to charge a price that is higher than their marginal cost, they're going to earn above normal returns, and there's probably serious barriers to entry in order to get in. Think of a hospital. You only need one hospital, let's say, for a catchment area. Why would a state build a new hospital in another area like that? So some industries are the sole provider in an area, and in essence, they have market power. So they have potential monopoly power. So even though this may be an extreme case, it's important to understand the boundaries that I've talked about in the lecture. So we know monopolies, let's say in the far right, perfect competition's in the far left. The real world's probably in between there, but maybe sometimes not so far away from these borders, these boundaries of like firm behavior. So that's why, again, monopoly I think is very important to study. So hopefully you've done the quiz, you've done your 10 questions, and I'm about to go over them with you. So the first the first 5 actually, all relate to this diagram up here. I've tried to draw it as accurately as possible, and it turns out you need to be accurate. So let's see how you did on these, all right? Number 1, in order to maximize profits, the monopolist should. All right, so I think this is a straightforward question, and it's really important that you get the basics down, right? So our notion is that the monopolist is going to produce up to the point where marginal revenue is greater than or equal to marginal cost. Why? Because every time the monopolist produces another unit, if the extra revenue they take in, their marginal revenue, exceeds the extra cost of producing that, they should do it, right? Think of, let's say, Microsoft. Microsoft is selling Windows. What do you think it costs Microsoft to produce another CD of Windows? Not very much at all, right? The marginal cost is relatively low, and yet they can sell Windows at a really nice price. I'm sure they're discounting enormously to big computer sellers like Dell, et cetera, but nevertheless, the marginal revenue is going to exceed the marginal cost, and they're going to try to sell as many units as they can. All right? So, in this particular case, we have a downward sloping demand curve. We have a marginal revenue curve like this, which will always be inside the demand curve, especially, and it will be actually a particular kind of marginal revenue curve, given that demand curve is linear. We have an average total cost curve right here. We see the marginal cost passes through the average total cost at the minimum of the ATC. It's going to be important, and that's our marginal cost firm. So following our rule, we're going to show you that the monopolist is going to go to produce at 12 units, right? The monopolist is going to go where the marginal revenue is exactly equal to the marginal cost. That tells the monopolist how much to produce. We go up to the demand curve, and I'll stop right there, but I'm obviously headed towards the next answer, which you can see. All right? So number 2 says, in order for the monopolist to maximize profits, the monopolist should charge a price of. So if the monopolist produces 12 units to maximize profits and goes up to the demand curve tells the monopolist you can charge $20. Again, the monopolist will charge what the market will bear. The demand curve tells you what the market will bear. He could charge $23 if he wanted to, but he wouldn't sell this many units. And this, we're arguing, is the profit maximizing level of output. So you're going to basically find marginal revenue equals marginal cost, find the output level, go to the demand curve, read the price, that's $20, and you've answered the first 2, the first one being B, the second one being C. Continuing this diagram here, a profit maximizing monopolist would earn total revenues of. Well, we know that answer, right? We know total revenue is simply equal to price times quantity. We now know price is $20. We know quantity is $12. So we know total revenue is $240. All right? So again, that's the answer D on your paper, but it's fairly straightforward. Once you have quantity, once you have price, total revenue, P times Q, you're there. Next question gets a little bit more challenging. A profit maximizing monopolist would incur total costs of, all right? Now, this takes us back a little bit to chapter 13 in our total cost. So we know this. We know that total cost, let me write TC, total cost are equal to average total cost times Q, right? Because average total cost are equal to total cost divided by Q. So therefore, if I take the average total cost and multiply this side by Q and this side by Q, I'll be left with total cost. So we know this is true. And now the question is, what are the average total costs? Well, again, you're going to go to your profit maximizing output level. You're going to go up to the average total cost curve and read over. And again, I didn't draw the diagram beautifully. I did pretty well, but not beautifully, right? And so what the average total costs are going to come out to be, hopefully you'll see it is $10. And this right here is at $9. That's what I was trying to get at. $10 is where the ATC right here, oops, let me erase this so you get a better view of it. All right. The average total cost is, you go to the output level, and here's the average total cost right there. And I was trying to get that to be $10. And right below it is $9. So hopefully you can see in your diagram that I didn't draw it as neatly as a diagram, but 10 is the correct average total cost at 12 units of output. All right? So at 12 units of outputs, we have average total cost of $10 times 12. So now we know the total cost are $120 for this monopolist. Now, why not take 9, right? Well, 9 is showing you the minimum where the marginal cost crosses the minimum of the ATC. They're trying to confuse you a little bit to make sure you understand that's not where they're producing. They're not producing 9 units at that point, okay? That would be the point of 0 economic profits. The monopolist here is, well, actually it wouldn't be 0 economic profits, the price would be higher, but just dismiss that statement for a minute. I just don't want you to go there. I want you to always go where output is maximized up to the average total cost curve and read over. Again, it's a subtle diagram, but the dollar amount is $10 on that. So that gives you the 10, and again, you easily can get total cost at 120. And then that makes number 5 pretty easy too, right? Because you've got all the pieces for it. So they're saying a profit maximizing monopolist would earn how much money? Well, we know profits are what? We know profits, I've used this symbol in class, is equal to total revenue minus total cost. We know total revenue at $240. We know total cost is $120, and therefore we have our profits of $120. Okay, so the answer to number 5 was C. So this is the basics of a kind of monopolistic diagram in which you have to find optimum output, price charged by the monopolist, total cost charged by the monopolist, total revenue is simply P times Q. You can really get all the pieces here, and you can finish with $120 of economic profits. This is above normal returns because the monopolist has the ability to charge a price that's way above the marginal cost. All right? So that's the first 5, which I was able to go pretty quickly because they're all related to this, but it's a very important diagram, and that's kind of a basic thing to get down. If you're comfortable with this, we're in good shape for the next part of the problem. So I'll come right back after I draw my new diagram.